My name is Marcus Thompson. I never thought I'd be sharing this story about my journey from darkness to light, from serving Satan to finding Christ, through the power of fasting and prayer. I grew up in Detroit, Michigan, in a neighborhood where violence was normal, where darkness seemed to rule. My parents were never around. Dad in prison, mom on drugs. I raised myself on the streets, learning survival the hard way. By age 12, I was already lost, running with gangs, doing things I'm not proud of, just to make it through each day. Then I met someone different, a man who promised power. Real power, he said, beyond what the streets could give. He introduced me to the dark arts. Started with small things, candles and incantations. That seemed harmless at first. But each ritual went deeper, each ceremony darker, until I found myself fully immersed in Satanism. By 16, I was initiated into a powerful coven, learning secrets that seemed to give me control. The power was intoxicating. People feared me. Even the toughest gangsters knew not to cross my path. I could make things happen. Bad things to my enemies. Good things for my friends. Or so I thought. But the price was high. Each ritual required more. Each ceremony took something from my soul. I couldn't sleep at night. Voices whispered constantly. Shadows moved on their own. In my darkened room, the demons I'd invited became my tormentors, demanding more sacrifice, more dedication. By 20, I was high priest of our local coven, leading others into darkness, teaching what I knew. We met in abandoned buildings, performed dark rituals that would terrify normal people. Blood sacrifices became normal. Animals at first, then darker things I can't speak about. My power grew stronger, but so did my bondage. Chains I couldn't see, wrapped tighter each day. I had thousands of spirits assigned to me now, each one demanding its own tribute. The hierarchy was complex. 3 major demons controlled the rest. Like dark generals, they gave me power, but owned my soul. I couldn't escape, even if I wanted to. My reputation spread throughout the city. People came seeking help with their dark desires. I could give them what they wanted: success, revenge, power. But each blessing given carried a hidden curse. The money flowed easily. People paid well for supernatural solutions to their problems. But no amount of wealth could buy peace. No power could silence the screams in my head. I lived in a mansion, drove expensive cars, had everything I wanted, except freedom. The demons made sure I knew who owned me, marking my body with invisible brands. Then something happened that changed everything. A young girl was brought to our ceremonies. She couldn't have been more than 7, her own mother offering her for dark purposes. Something broke inside me as I looked in her eyes, seeing the same innocence I'd lost so long ago. For the first time in many years, I felt something like a conscience awakening. I couldn't go through with it, couldn't destroy another young life like mine had been destroyed. The demons were furious. The coven turned against me. But I didn't care. I had to get out. I took the girl home, warned her mother, with a threat that made even her dark heart fear. But now I was marked for destruction by the very powers I'd served so long. The attacks began immediately. Physical manifestations, demonic apparitions, constant torment. I couldn't eat or sleep, my body covered in mysterious wounds that wouldn't heal. I tried everything to break free, but the pacts I'd made seemed unbreakable. Then I met Pastor James at a local coffee shop where I was hiding. from my tormentors. He saw right through me. Past my expensive clothes. Past my tough exterior. To my tortured soul. He sat down uninvited. Asked if I wanted freedom. I laughed at first. Then broke down crying. He told me about fasting. As a spiritual weapon. More powerful than any dark force. I'd heard of fasting. We used it in rituals. But this was different. This was pure power. He explained how Jesus used fasting to overcome Satan's temptations in the wilderness. How Daniel fasted and saw breakthrough in spiritual warfare against dark princes. Something stirred inside. A hope I thought dead. A possibility of freedom I'd never considered. Pastor James offered to guide me through a 3-day fast. Without food or water. The demons went crazy. When I agreed, they knew their time might be ending. The attacks intensified as I prepared for the fast. That would change everything. Pastor James explained the importance of purpose in spiritual fasting, not just abstaining. We set clear goals, breaking blood pacts, renouncing covenants, finding freedom. The first day began with violent resistance from the dark forces that owned my life. Physical manifestations filled my apartment, objects flying, voices screaming, but Pastor James stayed, praying continuously as I fought through the first hours. The hunger was nothing compared to the battle raging in the spiritual realm around us. By evening, something shifted. The first chain broke. I felt it snap. Inside my soul, a minor demon fled, screaming in rage, as its power broke over my life. The second day brought even fiercer warfare, as stronger spirits fought to stay. My body was weak from lack of food, but my spirit grew stronger with each passing hour. Pastor James taught me to use Scripture as a sword against the darkness. Each verse declared, cut another chain. Each prayer spoken broke another bond. The 3 main demons fought hardest to stay, their power over me, deeply rooted. But the fasting prayer proved stronger than their ancient claims on my soul. By the 3rd day, I was barely conscious, physically drained, but spiritually alive. The final battle came at midnight. As the last hours of fasting approached, the demon generals made their last stand, manifesting fully in terrifying form. But something had changed inside of me. I was no longer afraid of their power. Pastor James and I prayed together as the last chains began to break. When sunrise came on the 3rd day, the darkness fled. Complete freedom came. I felt lighter than ever before, clean for the first time since childhood. The voices were gone, the shadows lifted, my mind clear, my soul free. Pastor James helped me break my fast with prayer and small sips of water, but I was already filled with living water that satisfied a deeper thirst. The transformation continued in the days that followed as I learned to walk in my new freedom. Pastor James became my spiritual father, teaching me truth about God's power. I joined his church, started learning Scripture, finding strength in God's promises. The darkness tried returning several times, but fasting had taught me how to fight back. I learned to combine regular fasting with prayer and Scripture as spiritual weapons. Former coven members began seeking me out, not for dark power, but for freedom. Some came in secret, afraid of repercussions, but desperate for the peace they saw in me. I shared my testimony, carefully at first, then more boldly. As God led, Pastor James helped me start a ministry for others trapped in the occult. We saw miracles, lives transformed, families restored, hope renewed. Each deliverance strengthened my faith, showing God's power over darkness. The mansion I owned, built with dark money, I gave to the church for rehabilitation work. Now it houses those seeking escape from the same bondage that once held me. We teach them about fasting as a key to freedom, a weapon against spiritual bondage. Many are skeptical, at first, like I was, until they see the power it holds. We start them slowly, with short fasts, building their strength for bigger battles. Some face resistance from dark forces, but we stand with them through every fight. The ministry grows as word spreads about God's power to break every chain. Former Satanists, witch doctors, gang leaders, all finding freedom. Each testimony unique, but sharing one truth: that fasting breaks what nothing else can. Pastor James still leads our prayer teams, teaching new believers how to stay free. We document everything to help others understand the battle and the victory. Churches contact us, seeking help with difficult cases of spiritual bondage. We train their leaders in spiritual warfare, teaching them how to use fasting effectively. The girl I saved that final night found me years later, now a young woman. She too had found Christ. Her story inspiring others to believe in God's power. Together we serve in the ministry, showing others the way to freedom. Her testimony powerful among young people trapped in darkness, like we once were. The work continues. Daily we see new cases of spiritual bondage, but we also see God's faithfulness, His power to save and transform. This is our calling, our purpose now, to help others find true freedom, to show them Christ, the only way to lasting peace and real power. Yendi.